an overview of an audit when we come along to audit against FIAS. The plan of the day initially would be to meet the quality manager or the person responsible and actually go through the legal requirements for that site. We would then move on to risk assessment, look at what their risk assessment contains, which would then follow on to an assessment around the site, just to see whether it corresponds with what the risk assessment is saying for the business. Once the walk around is complete, we would then walk it back into the office and do a traceability exercise. We may do 2 or 3, we may do 4 or 5, depending on the business. That traceability exercise then leads us into lots of other areas: sales and purchase contracts, training records, transportation, storage, all working procedures for employees, and then we would then move on to other things like complaints and suspicious unusual requests. The purpose of the walk around is actually to see what is happening on that site on the day. Walkarounds will differ depending on the business. If we're in a haulage operation, we will actually just be looking at a vehicle. If it's an ADR vehicle, we'll be looking at what equipment that vehicle is carrying in relation to legislation. If it's a store or a manufacturing blending packing site, then what we'll actually be looking for is whether there's any risks to security, but also to things like combustible materials, anything that actually could cause an issue on that site at that point in time. So the visual inspection of that site actually falls into 2 areas. What we're looking for as we actually walk around the site is the operations in relation to, if it is a manufacturing blending site, in the actual incoming loads, the storage of those loads, then through to actual blending, which leads us into calibration, compositions, how those employees are actually doing those compositions. The second part of the visual inspection will then actually lead us back into the office to do traceability, which then leads us into the working procedures that we will have seen on the site at that point in time.
So FIAS is basically a validation of what we're doing already in terms of security, safety, traceability, legislation and good practice. An external auditor gives us the opportunity for another pair of eyes to see if we've got any weaknesses that we can improve on.
At the beginning of the audit, we'll have actually opened up with an opening meeting. We would then look at any legal requirements that is required for a site. But the next thing would actually to look at the risk assessment. And the risk assessment really is what I then use on the walk around of what the production site is actually doing. So Tracy, could you actually show me where the risk assessment is, please?